new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando, and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
What a show we have for you guys today. The return of Roman Reigns to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, there was a lot of anticipation to see what he was going to say, if he was going to be cleared medically to return back into in-ring action from his leukemia. And the news is that he's actually back. So excited to see what Roman Reigns has to offer for us now.
Yep, and we'll keep it very, very short for you guys because he did talk for about 25 minutes straight. He pretty much said that he was thankful for all the love and all the support that he got, not only from the WWE Universe, but from everybody, outside the WWE Universe. And he also said that he wasn't expecting to get the reaction that he got. And not only that, but he also did say that he's going to use his platform to bring awareness into the leukemia situation. And then he goes on to say, I know you guys are here for an update, and I am in remission.
Yeah, excited to see what he has in store for us. And a quick question for you. Who do you see Roman facing to be his first opponent after his return?
Well, based on what we saw today, probably somewhere or someone between Lashley, McIntyre, and Corbin. That's who I can potentially see. I know a lot of you guys might be like, why would he face them? I mean, it makes perfect sense after tonight. And they've kind of been messing with Dean and Seth, for a really long time, even after he was gone.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one 100%.
Alright, let's move on to the very first match of the night, which was Aleister Black and Ricochet versus The Revival. Pretty much an amazing match. The call-ups from NXT, we got to see them last week perform on both Raw and SmackDown. It's going to be interesting to see if they will be on both brands still tomorrow, or if they're just going to stay on Raw. Personally, I would send Aleister to SmackDown, and I would keep Ricochet down in Raw, because I feel like he can match up to somebody like Finn Balor, and I feel like he would bring something new to the Raw roster.
One thing about Aleister Black and Ricochet is that they're putting the pressure on the main roster. The main roster has to step their game up, because if not, Aleister Black and Ricochet are completely going to take over pretty much the main roster.
And I have to completely agree with you on that one, because at this point, we've seen the roster be focused so much on Roman, Seth, Dean, McIntyre, Lashley, and Corbin, which is the main guys right now. Oh, and Strowman, you can't forget about him, and it's not that it's getting old, because they've managed to somehow make it interesting, but now these guys are a new threat. They're a new competition, and I do agree with you that if Raw doesn't step up, they're going to take over. And that's pressure for the big guys, because they've been so used to running the show that now having the new call-ups, I feel like they don't know what to expect. They're not ready for the NXT guys.
Yeah, and they've just been super impressive. I couldn't keep up with the match just because it was super fast-paced with Aleister Black and Ricochet. I mean, they're just their athleticism is so amazing, and when they pick up speed, they pick up momentum. They're just unstoppable, and we saw from the Revival tonight that they try to end the match quick, and they surprise attacked them because they knew that once Ricochet and Aleister Black got into their wrestling momentum, it was pretty much going to be over, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yep, and the Revival, that was a smart move on behalf of the Revival. Keep in mind, though, they're used to having the odds against them, to put it that way, and I feel like in this one, they definitely knew the odds were going to be against them just because of the athleticism and the type of athletes that both Ricochet and Aleister Black are. But at the end of the day, you never know. They are the tag team champions, and they are, right now, they're the ones that are going to be the biggest, they have the biggest target on their back, sorry.
And keep in mind, the Revival last week and this week lost to the NXT Superstars. So they're sending a message, especially to the Revival, since they all been tag teaming with each other.
And that makes me think, does this mean we're going to be getting someone from NXT challenging for the tag team championship?
Hopefully. I mean, they both teams have pinned the champion, so they deserve an opportunity. Why not?
Yeah, I could see that happening. It's just going to be interesting to see where they go from here, and which brand each superstar goes to. That plays a huge role as well.
Yeah, and if they decide to go with tag teams, what happens now with Bobby Roode and Chad Gabriel?
I don't know.
We'll see what happens with them.
we do have the Superstar Shakeup coming up the week after WrestleMania, so that also plays a huge factor because this is where teams split up, and this is where I fear potentially the Riot Squad could be splitting, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Alright, let's move on to Elias, your favorite superstar in Raw. Man, he's always done so dirty. He didn't even get the opportunity to say he was Elias. He immediately just got interrupted right off the bat.
By who? By Lacey Evans. What's up with Lacey Evans? She keeps coming out, down the ramp, turns around, and then goes right back. We really haven't seen her in action since the Royal Rumble, I believe.
Yes, and she was very impressive at the Royal Rumble. You know, we saw her pretty much stand up to somebody like Charlotte Flair, and that just tells you that she is ready for whatever the women's division has to offer.
Definitely, she caught my eye in the Rumble. I was very, very impressed, and from what I saw, I think she is one of the female superstars that could square up and, athletic-wise, match up with Charlotte Flair.
I do agree with you on that one. It's going to be interesting to see who her first feud is, though. That's going to be interesting because so far we don't know which brand she's going to, and we don't know who she's going to be facing, if she's going to be on the right side of history or on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we've already seen Nikki Cross in a couple of matches, and we haven't seen Lacey Evans on Raw or on SmackDown compete.
Yes.
We've seen her, but we haven't seen her compete yet.
Exactly. So all she does is basically walk up to the ring and then just walk back. Kind of like she's trying to prove a statement, but she's not really proving anything. I feel like she's just playing mind games with all the women basically in this entire division, because even though she came out during Elias, the woman is still sitting back there thinking, what's next?
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. I feel that she is really playing mind games with all the women. Like, when the women are having matches, they show her in the back watching the match. Or
exactly.
If not, she comes out, and it kind of is like, okay, where is she going to be at?
She's doing her homework. She's definitely analyzing, I feel like, both brands, and it's going to be interesting to see which brand she goes to. I don't see her debuting to potentially either after Fastlane, at Mania, or right after for the Superstar Shakeup, because that's when we will actually find out which brand they're going to.
I think she would be a great addition to the Raw roster in the women's division.
I definitely agree with you on that one. I do feel like Raw would need her a lot more than SmackDown. I feel like SmackDown can alone hold their ground. Alright, then Dean Ambrose also interrupts Elias.
Yeah, I was surprised about Dean Ambrose interrupting Elias, but then it makes sense because since everybody interrupts Elias, and if you want to say something, who do you interrupt? Elias.
Yep, that's the only superstar you can interrupt and pretty much do your thing, because you already know, one, Elias won't do anything about it, which he will, but two, there's, no other better gimmick to interrupt, honestly, because you can't just go interrupting people without it being Elias. Alright, and then he goes on to say that he basically wants a no disqualification match against Drew McIntyre, and that he wants his rematch because he was not happy with the result that happened last week.
Yeah, and what better way to prove himself against McIntyre than having a match that Dean Ambrose feels comfortable with. We've seen him have multiple no disqualification matches, and it didn't surprise me that he wanted his rematch.
And Elias finally wanted to sing a song, and he finally wanted to sing a specific song about Atlanta. He likes Atlanta, and he was ready to sing. He was excited, and then he was obviously upset because Dean decided he wanted to interrupt. And Elias was going to hit Dean with the guitar in the back, but it was reversed by a Dirty Deeds. Dean Ambrose was ready. He was trying to prove a point, but karma, it gets him back.
Yep, and we'll tell you that later.
Yes. Alright, now moving on to the very next match of the night, which was the Riot Squad, Sarah and Ruby, versus Natalya and Ronda Rousey. So glad we finally get to see Natty. I feel like, she's been gone for 3 weeks now? 2 to 3 weeks? Something like that?
Almost a month, if I'm not mistaken.
It's been that long?
I think it's been almost a month.
Wow. That's crazy, because I was used to seeing her each and every single week, just coming out and killing it, having amazing matches. And I'm telling you, every single time she comes out, no matter who you put her up against, she has a fantastic match.
Yeah, and then not only that, but she started off the match with Sarah, the powerhouse of the Riot Squad. She's been super impressive, and me and you were talking during the match that Sarah's just improved so much throughout this year.
She definitely has. I feel like she's definitely proven she can hang with the top stars and that she's at an elite level now. And I feel like a lot of that comes from Ruby Riott being the mentor behind both Liv and Sarah, because if you notice, they've both improved tremendously in a short amount of time.
And Sarah, she's been adding more moves to her arsenal. Today we got to saw one of the submission moves that she did. Super impressive. You have to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Super creative. If we can add it down here, we will. We don't want to get copyrighted. Sorry, guys.
So now she's adding that, which I think is gonna up her game more.
Yes. And you also have to give it to Sarah. She's smart. And again, I'm saying she learned from Ruby Riott. She immediately goes into attacking Natty. What does she do? Attack her very, very quickly, not giving her any single opportunities for her to capitalize. And she also decided she wanted to isolate her. That is brilliant, because she knew that the longer she kept Ronda Rousey out of this match, the bigger opportunity and the bigger chance they had of winning tonight.
Obviously, in this tag match, the ones with the advantage was the Riott Squad, not only because of the numbers game, but that they've been working together for a very, very long time. See, pretty much since they started their careers.
They definitely have, and I feel like this is definitely the shield of the women's division, and they're very, very dangerous together. As I said, I could potentially see them splitting up very, very soon. I wouldn't want it to, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, and then they knew that by isolating Natty, they would have a bigger chance of winning.
Exactly.
Just because once Ronda comes in and she executes the armbar, it's pretty much over.
Yep, it's a game changer. And once Ronda Rousey was able to come in, she pretty much starts cleaning house. She takes out both Liv, Sarah, and Ruby. But you also have to keep in mind, Ruby Riott, super impressive. She was definitely ready for both Ronda and Natty.
I believe she's faced her 3 times in this week. And she's been super impressive and just pushed Ronda to the limit all the time.
Yes, she definitely has put a title on her. I think it's time. I think she deserves it. And there's no other title you can give the woman other than the tag ones. But at this point, I feel like Ruby is beyond that. She doesn't need a tag title to prove that she's a big star.
Yeah.
I feel like she's already proven that on all of her matches.
And what happens during the Ronda match? It's kind of a surprise. Well, not really. Guess who gets involved? Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. And as promised, she gets arrested for showing up and for violating her 60-day suspension. Right when you thought Ronda was going to put Sarah Logan in the armbar, you're just like, okay, this is it. This is over. And then Becky just comes in from the crowd. Yeah. I personally wouldn't have done it in that moment. I would have waited until the end with the Ric Flair party, and just done it there.
And we'll tell you why.
Yes, we will definitely tell you why, but getting back into this, I wasn't expecting her to come out here. Like, it's not surprising simply because she's part of this feud, but it's surprising because it's like you had a bigger and better opportunity with Ric Flair, but you put her here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I knew she was going to show up. I just didn't think it was going to be during the Ronda match.
I definitely agree with you on that one. And pretty much she goes after Natty. So she grabs one of her crutches and she starts hitting her with it. And then Ronda notices it right away. So she comes out and they kind of get into this brawl. And this set Ronda off. She had it. She is done with Becky Lynch.
Yeah, and keep in mind it took all the WWE officials to separate Becky and Ronda.
Yeah, they even had to pin poor Ronda Rousey down. Like, they literally had her down like this on the ground. Like, on top of her, just to keep her down from attacking Becky Lynch as Becky was getting arrested.
And she still managed to get away, but at the end she was able to cool off.
Yeah, she definitely was. And then, like, they go to commercial break, and then when they come back, you get to see Natty and Ronda walking up the ramp. And then you just see Ronda make a U-turn, pretty much, go all the way back to the ring. And she calls out Vince McMahon. What person calls out Vince McMahon? That man is the boss. He is the chairman. You don't call him out. Plain simple, period.
Like he said a couple weeks ago, he is the man.
Exactly. That man's the boss. So she called him out. And instead of Vince coming out, who do we get? Stephanie McMahon. She comes out. And then this is where Ronda says, you know what? Unsuspend Becky. I want her at WrestleMania. Make it a triple threat. She's basically begging and pleading Stephanie to unsuspend her, to drop all the charges, because she wants her at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and another reason is because I think Becky's starting to get into her head again. And not only that, she's getting tired of week after week Becky attacking and getting involved in her matches. Or in whatever she does. So I see why Ronda wants Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon to pretty much lift the suspension.
And she will not take no for an answer, and Stephanie tells her, sorry, the answer is still a cold no. Like, it's a solid no. She's not going to change her mind. And Ronda, this is where she tells her, Vince needs to make the right decision, because when I won this championship, it was, to make it something, to make it mean something, which has been pretty much the goal of every single woman or any single superstar that has ever stepped foot into a WWE ring. And she said that that's no longer what it means now, because she's going to be facing the chosen one at WrestleMania instead of the person who earned their opportunity to face her.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to feel about that, because I can't necessarily say Charlotte's the chosen one, because I don't see it that way. I just see it that she is a Flair, and she lived up to that name, and she's proven it by herself in her entire career, that she deserves every single opportunity she's gonna get. But I also understand, because people are like, she gets all the opportunities, but you also have to understand and see it from the other perspective.
Yeah. Regardless who Ronda faces, she's gonna have a great opponent, whether it's Charlotte or it's Becky.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we know it's gonna be a triple threat match.
Yes. And a shocking moment was when she pretty much says Vince has to make the right decision. She grabs the title, lays it on the ground, and basically walks out. So at this point, nobody knows what the fate of the Raw Women's Championship is, because for all we know, she could have just left it for that night, or she could have just been like, I'm done. Like, I'm not coming back until Becky gets added into this match, because she clearly, that's what she wants.
Yeah.
She said it clear to Stephanie McMahon.
You could tell she wants Becky. She doesn't want to face Charlotte.
Exactly. And I don't feel like it's like she doesn't want to face Charlotte. I just feel like at this point, everything that Becky Lynch has done has led her to the point where it's like, forget Charlotte. Even if she's in the match, I don't care. But I want Becky Lynch. So one way or another, whether it's in a singles match or in a triple threat, she wants Becky Lynch. And she is willing to do whatever to get that match.
Yeah, like you said, she believes that Becky deserves the opportunity, which she does.
Yeah, she definitely does. I mean, no one can take that from her. But now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Raw Women's Championship. What do you think happens next? Because at this point, we're pretty much left up in the air. There's like...
Yeah, and keep in mind, there's, I believe 2 weeks left for Fastlane.
I believe so, yeah.
So, they got to come up with a decision real quick, because at this point, as of right now, we're probably not going to see the title getting defended at Fastlane.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Maybe she doesn't have an opponent, and maybe she leaves until Fastlane and then comes back, makes a return, and it's like, unless you give me Becky Lynch and I'm going to defend the title against her at Mania, I'm not coming back, or I'm not facing Charlotte.
And keep in mind that she has beaten every single woman in the Raw roster. She pretty much doesn't have anybody to face.
Exactly. So, I mean, that would make sense. But I don't know. Kind of left up in the air, and it's going to be interesting to see where they decide to go with this, or what they come up with going on to Fastlane and onto the road to WrestleMania. Obviously, it's a triple threat, like you said. That's bound to happen. It's going to happen. Alright, moving on to Jinder Mahal, who was highly upset because he didn't get invited to Ric Flair's 70th birthday celebration.
Another one we haven't seen on the ring or on TV for quite some time already.
I know, and then he goes on to say, what has Ric Flair done? I mean...
Really, dude?
I can name countless of things, but we're not going to get into that, because that would take up this entire episode pretty much. But, legend, Hall of Famer.
Come on, Jinder.
I know.
Like you said, Hall of Famer, legend, the Nature Boy.
No wonder he didn't get invited to the party.
Yeah, come on.
You're going to insult Ric Flair like that, man? Come on. Alright, and then he says he will challenge any superstar that is backstage that got invited to the party.
Keep in mind, there was a lot of legends that were backstage, so I was like, ooh, let's see who's gonna decide to come out and face Jinder Mahal.
I kind of expected that one, but anybody could have came out.
One thing that I like about Kurt Angle now is that back then, when he was younger, whenever he yelled, "You suck, you suck," he would get mad.
Yeah.
And you'll see it when he was walking down the ramp, and now he enjoys it. he like even like goes
Yeah, he
along with
initiates
the crowd.
Yeah, it's like the funniest thing, and I feel like now he's used to it, and he knows that they're not saying it because he really sucks. They're just saying it because at this point it's out of respect towards him. That's the way I see it, and I know that's the way you see it. The match was super, super short. Mahal really showcased the amount of talent, the amount of athleticism he has, especially against a legend, and that says a lot because for you to be able to give the fight that Mahal gave to Kurt Angle is quite impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, Kurt Angle proved that his experience in the ring ended up paying, and he ended up doing a couple suplexes and pretty much caught Jinder Mahal in the ankle lock.
And once he locked in the ankle lock, it was over for Jinder Mahal, and that's how it ends. I'm glad Kurt Angle finally got a win, though, because after seeing him consecutively lose and getting beat up by McIntyre, Lashley, and Baron, it's good to see he can get a win.
This is definitely going to build the momentum for Kurt Angle for his next match.
Yep, and moving into WrestleMania as well. Alright, let's get into Alexa Bliss. She comes out, and this already tells you a moment of bliss is happening with the special guest star, Finn Balor, the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, I was excited to see what Alexa Bliss was going to ask Finn Balor after he had won the Intercontinental Championship I believe it was last week.
A few weeks ago, like last week or 2 weeks ago. But before she even says anything, she's like, bye, Ronda, and she says she is ready in case Stephanie and Triple H want to replace Ronda in the Raw Women's match at WrestleMania.
Alexa Bliss being herself, always trying to sneak her way into title pictures and trying to do what's best for her. Smart. Very, very smart.
And that's why she is Alexa Bliss, and that's why she's a 5-time women's champion, because she knows how to get those opportunities, and she takes advantage of every single one of them. Alright, and then, who comes out? Finn Balor. And pretty much, it gets a little awkward, because Alexa tells him
that he has nice abs, and that he should take his title off so she could see the abs.
And then that's when Finn is like, are you trying to make me blush? And then she was just like, well, no. And then she's like, tell you what, you show me your abs, I'll show you. And then interruption, because, you know, a moment of bliss can never go without an interruption. Kind of like Elias, and it's getting on my nerves, honestly.
Now you know what I feel when Elias gets interrupted.
I like a moment of bliss. It's always so entertaining, but, you know, always has to get interrupted. This time it wasn't Nia Jax, so... Who was it who interrupted her? Was it disrespect? Lio Rush decides to come out, and what does he do? He challenges Finn. He ruined everything.
He doesn't challenge Finn, but he says that he was going to take the title away, and he was going to do whatever it took. So Finn Balor used reverse psychology on him and pretty much said, okay, oh, so you're challenging me for a title? And he's like, no, I didn't say that. You're putting words into my mouth. And Finn Balor was like, no, that's not what I understood, but if you want a title shot, I'll give you the title shot because you've worked hard and you've earned it.
And he also says he shouldn't let Bobby Lashley take that away from him. So then Finn is like, fine, I accept your challenge. And then that's when Leo's kind of hesitant. And he's like, well, I'm going to go to the back and get ready for my match then. And that's when Alexa is like, no, your match is like right now. But she tells him what happened, Leo. Are you not man enough? And then... the funniest thing is Finn is like, ooh.
You know what I would have told Alexa? Who made you boss?
Hey, as far as I remember, she was the boss when Baron Corbin was the boss, okay? She was running the women's division. Well, yeah, she was running the women's division, not the men's division. But still, Alexa is the brains, okay?
Yeah, but Baron Corbin is not a general manager anymore.
I know, but none of the McMahons ever told anything to Alexa. They never reversed the fact that she was in charge of the women's division. She just kind of stopped being in charge of the women's division. But anyways, moving on to the very next match, which was Finn Balor versus Lio Rush for the Intercontinental Championship.
What speed does Lio Rush have in the ring is just super impressive. The way he moves, I think he's probably one of the quickest in-ring superstars that I've seen.
And I think he might even be quicker than Finn Balor, actually. From what I've seen, super impressive. I want to see more of him, though. I want to see him wrestle more. I already know he's good in the microphone. I want to see him do more in the ring. I want to see what he can bring.
Not only that, but he's also a smart competitor. We saw that today throughout the match as Finn Balor kind of got his knee a little bit hurt. He had issues with it, and what does Lio Rush do? He automatically attacks the knee and stays on it the entire match.
Yep, focused on that knee because he knew that if he can weaken Finn Balor's knee, he was closer to a victory, which means he could potentially become the Intercontinental Champion.
And he did weaken it because we saw Finn Balor try to go to the top rope, and his knee was hurting, so he hesitated on doing the coup de grace and going up the top rope. So Lio Rush was able to capitalize on that.
Speaking of him being a very smart competitor, this is why Bobby Lashley was successful with Lio Rush, and this is why he is successful with Lio Rush, because of the brains. It works out. If you have somebody who has the brains, you're more than likely going to succeed. And I feel like he plays a really huge role in Bobby Lashley's career.
And one thing about Finn Balor, it just kind of scares me whenever he starts to touch his knee or his elbow, because I feel like he's prone to injury, and then an injury can happen and just pretty much happen what happened when he won the Universal title.
Yeah, so that is a fear that Armando does have. He tells me this every time he sees Finn Balor wrestle, and I understand why, because we saw it with the Universal Championship. But so far, so good. Nothing has happened, and I hope he really has a long reign.
Yeah, and not only that, but his wrestling style is dangerous. Doesn't help him out a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very dangerous, but it's going to be interesting to see who his next opponent is. So far, we've only seen him feud with Lashley and Lio. As I said, I want to see him against somebody like Ricochet. I feel like that match would be amazing and completely blow the roof off the building, whatever building they decide to be on. I feel like that's great. I don't know, who else do you see him going up against?
Definitely any of the NXT guys, for sure.
For sure.
I think they would push Finn Balor to the limit, and we'll get to see what we want to see from Finn Balor. That Finn Balor from NXT, from the Indies, which I'm pretty sure we want to see.
Yeah, so definitely agree with you on that one. It's going to be interesting to see, though, who his opponent will be at Mania. Because so far, there's no hint. We don't know anything. We're kind of still up in the air. No idea. No clue. Alright, moving on to Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman. This was a very short match, but also I feel like Bobby Lashley felt like he needed Lio Rush out there because we got to see them backstage, and he was like, "Can I trust you? Can I trust you?" And I feel like that's him telling them, "Okay, I need you out there, but I need you to make sure you don't screw this up for me again." Because, as we all know, he's the reason why Bobby Lashley lost the Intercontinental Championship in the first place.
This is an angry Bobby Lashley, and not only that, but a more frustrated one. I feel like he's not focused 100% the way he is supposed to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I do think he's not 100% focused, but I feel like this brings a whole new side to Bobby Lashley. He's a lot more brutal, and man, he gets in that ring to kill somebody. He doesn't just go to fight. He goes to try to cause as much damage as he potentially could.
He is hungry to get to the top again.
He definitely is. I could potentially see him winning either the WWE Championship or the Universal Champion sometime soon. Maybe within the next year, but it's going to be interesting to see who he faces and who he dethrones. I do want to see more of them, though, and it kind of seems like they're teasing a Lio Rush and a Bobby Lashley split. How could you potentially see that happening? Do you see it happening at, like, the shake-up, or do you see it actually turning into an actual storyline?
An actual storyline. A match somewhere down the road, possibly Mania, possibly Fastlane, if anything.
I could see that, yeah.
Just because the tensions between them are not the same as when they were in the beginning. They're not getting along. They're getting into argument. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of tension.
A lot of problems.
They're not trusting each other like they were at first. And I feel that the ego of Lio Rush is getting to him at the same time with Bobby Lashley.
And Braun Strowman, man, this guy, he's had so many opportunities, and I feel like every single opportunity they've screwed him over. This match never even happened because Braun Strowman pretty much bulldozed through both Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley, took them both out, and that just goes to show how powerful he is, how much of a monster he is. And I feel like at this point they've completely ruined the entire monster gimmick because, like I said, all the opportunities, and he's never won the championship. Not even a small caliber title like the Intercontinental or the U.S.
Yeah, I feel at this point they don't know who to put him with. Like we've been saying, he doesn't have a proper storyline. He's just kind of there floating around.
You know, I would move him to SmackDown, and then I would throw Lars Sullivan in there and just have them feud. Honestly, I feel like that would be great. The Freak versus the Monster, and I feel like it would give a fantastic feud.
Two powerhouses.
Exactly. They're very, very similar, or at least personally, I think they're similar. I would like to see that. So I say move them over to SmackDown. I don't know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think they should do with Braun Strowman. At this point, he's just been going around in circles between Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and Drew McIntyre, pretty much.
And even last year, I believe, he had a match, a tag team match, which he won with
Nicholas.
With Nicholas, a 10-year-old. So it kind of
Exactly.
shows you where they're kind of going with Braun Strowman.
It's really disappointing because he has so much potential and he can be a big star. But Armando has said it before in past podcasts. He's more than likely going to have the career of the Big Show.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean by that, the phrase on it is, Big Show started off like Braun Strowman. He started off hot, being like, oh, we have this big guy, he's dominating, and he was good up until his first couple years, and then after that, he just died down and kept going up and down, up and down.
I don't know, guys, but let us know what you think is next for Braun Strowman. What match he's going to have at Braun Strowman. Honestly, I wouldn't throw him in the Battle Royal because you already know he's just going to throw everybody out. I wouldn't do that. So, let us know what you think below. Alright, moving on to Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre in a no disqualification.
Get-go, this match was going to be brutal, and you were going to see all kinds of stuff thrown around.
And Dean not wasting any time. He knew that if he wanted a shot against Drew McIntyre, he was not going to have to give him any opportunities, and he was going to have to take any opportunity and take advantage of that every chance he got.
Yeah, and not only that, but he took Dean Ambrose to the limit, physically and mentally.
Definitely, I agree with you on that one. And Drew McIntyre, man, he's the full package. He can cut a promo, he can wrestle, and the way he hits that Claymore kick is amazing because it's kind of like the RKO. I know I compare it a lot to that, but that's pretty much how it is. You don't really see a lot of those finishers when you can put your finisher out of nowhere and just take out your opponent, you know?
Yeah, he's the full package. He's the superstar that should be, in my opinion, that should have been facing Brock Lesnar. That could have taken down the Beast.
Yeah, I do see that. I said it in one of the past podcasts where I was like, I would have thrown Seth Rollins against Daniel Bryan, and then I would have thrown McIntyre against the Beast because I feel like that would have been evenly matched, and I feel like their powers would have been almost similar. I feel like he would have really, really been the only person to really take it to Brock.
Yeah, and last year was one hell of a year for McIntyre, and this year is shaping him to be an even bigger year. I think he is going to be a future champion, maybe Universal Champion or Intercontinental Champion, but I would love to see him as a Universal Champion.
He was a very, very brutal match, honestly. It was incredible. I feel like Dean really gave it to Drew McIntyre, and it sucks if Dean does end up leaving, but after what happened next, I don't think so. I feel like this has all been a work, but you never know with the WWE.
So, Dean Ambrose, as we all know, interrupted Elias during his segment, and what ends up happening during the match, Elias decides to get involved.
Yes.
And help out McIntyre, sorry.
Yes. So, basically, it was all legal because it was a no disqualification match, as we heard from the beginning. And so then when Elias comes out and decides to help out Drew McIntyre, what happens? Everybody else comes out and starts helping Drew McIntyre take out Elias.
And by everybody else,
take out Dean, sorry.
And by everybody else, we mean Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley.
Exactly. So pretty much the whole trio got together, and then they tell Elias, oh, come in here. And they all just pretty much start beating up Dean Ambrose like it's a thing to do. And he's helpless. He's in the middle of the ring. And then all you hear is burn it down. Seth Rollins comes out. And, of course, when Seth Rollins came out,
he comes out with the chair in hand, keep in mind.
Yes. And so since he comes out, none other than Roman Reigns comes out, which already teases to you we're getting a Shield reunion sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so they go out and clean house. And at the end, once they clean house, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins walk up the ramp, and they kind of just look back at Dean Ambrose, and it's like, okay.
Well, I mean, we feel like the three main reasons for this is one, these three guys, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby Lashley, have been mocking the Shield since before Roman Reigns left, and even after he left, they still did it a lot more frequently.
And keep in mind, McIntyre said that he completely, single-handedly destroyed the Shield.
Exactly, which, I mean, I guess you could agree, but it's also a disagree thing because it all came from Dean, pretty much.
Another thing, too, is brotherhood. We know these guys are stuck together even though they had their differences in the past. They always end up making up and getting together.
Yes, and they've definitely had a career together that is Hall of Fame worthy. And at this point, they are proving, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, whether one betrays the other, they're going to be brothers, and that, at the end of the day, comes out.
Yeah, and reason number 3 is Roman Reigns' yard.
Reclaiming his yard.
Yeah, Roman Reigns pretty much telling everybody else that this is not going to happen in my yard.
Exactly.
During my time.
Yeah, because if you really pay attention to before Roman left, when things like this would happen, who was there? Roman Reigns. And now it's like, okay, I'm back, and I'm gonna fix it all, and I'm gonna restore it, and this is not gonna be happening. So a lot of that comes into play.
And obviously Seth Rollins is his backup, and we all know Dean Ambrose as well.
So now we can pretty much assume that the Shield, quote unquote Shield, is gonna help Seth Rollins dethrone the Beast, so that way he becomes the Universal Champion at WrestleMania.
That's pretty much a given.
That's pretty much a given.
After what we saw tonight.
Yes, and I personally feel let Seth Rollins have his moment. I feel like it doesn't need to involve the Shield. I feel like Seth can do it on his own. We've seen his athleticism. We've seen his talent. We've seen what he can do in the ring. Does he need the Shield? No. Because Roman is coming back and Dean potentially leaving, I see why they're doing it. What do you think?
Yeah, this is the same reason to get the Shield back together. But at the same time, they portray the Beast as being unstoppable, as being like unbeaten. So I see why also they're putting the Shield together, because okay, all three of us are gonna slay the Beast.
Yep, and keep in mind the only man that has potentially been able to beat Brock Lesnar has been Roman Reigns. So without Roman, WWE is pretty much saying Seth cannot beat Brock Lesnar.
Keep in mind, John Cena has also beaten Brock Lesnar.
Back in 2012, I believe it was like a cage match or something. I don't really remember.
That was
back in the day.
Back in the day.
Like way back in the day. Alright, moving on to the very next match of the night, which was Bayley, obviously with Sasha, versus Nia Jax with Tamina. It was a singles match. Bayley, super impressive. I'm very, very proud of her. I feel like they're finally giving her the opportunity she deserves. She's finally over and at the point where she has to be.
What a month she's had. It's just been super amazing what she has done in the ring. It's just, she's been able to showcase all her talent, and I think she's won all of us over with her matches.
Yes, and she is now the Bayley from NXT that was having killer matches, that was having killer feuds, that is ready and focused and determined to get to where she wants to get, and I feel like that's the Women's Championship.
Yeah, and I feel that this tag team titles is going to benefit her even more to show her full potential. She's already showing us what she could do, but I feel like she could do more.
Do you feel that the fact that Sasha has been injured and hasn't really been a part of pretty much the tag team reign, that this is why we're getting to see the Bayley that we get to see now?
Yes, I think a lot of it had to do with that. But I mean, it works out perfectly for Bayley.
Yeah.
She's getting more opportunity. She's getting more in ring time, which is what she needed. She was getting ring time, but she wasn't getting a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, she was the one that you would go into the ring, she would have a match, she would make you look good, and then she would pretty much take the pinfall. Now she's beating 2, 3, 4 women all by herself. We got to see that. And it's been nice to finally be able to see Bayley do what she deserves and finally get the reign, I guess, that she deserves, because when she was a women's champion, we saw her be, I guess, the Bayley that she is now, but it wasn't this extreme. She wasn't as big as she is now, and now I feel like this is perfect. If you book it correctly, she can be the next big star. And we already know she's a big star. But like I said, her title reign back in, 2017, I think? Because it was the Orlando when she retained and she was already champion. She walked into Mania champion. Her reign wasn't all that. So I feel like now is the biggest opportunity to capitalize on Bayley.
Definitely.
And she's been doing it on her own. She's been out there giving killer matches, facing everybody. She's beaten everybody pretty much at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see who faces them for the titles. We obviously get to see Nia and Tamina face them at Fastlane. But who's their opponent at WrestleMania is the question.
I believe it's going to be the Iconics. I would love to see the Iconics versus the Boss and Hug Connection.
I would love to see that too. But maybe I would book it differently to have the Iconics win. I know a lot of people are probably going to say, well, let's have Sasha and Bayley still retain. Nah, I would have it the other way around. I feel like the Iconics really deserve it.
And this is a huge victory for Bayley to build momentum more than what she already had.
And also, Nia Jax, we already know she's a powerhouse, probably of the entire women's division. She's smart, but in this case, she got outsmarted and she let Sasha get the best of her because she got distracted by Sasha Banks, and Bayley capitalized on that. She was like, this is my opportunity. I'm going to go for it. And there she was at it.
Yeah, that was Nia Jax's mistake, trying to focus on Sasha when she wasn't involved in the match.
Exactly. Because I feel like if she wouldn't have focused on Sasha Banks when she wasn't involved in the match, none of this would have happened because Tamina was over there minding her own business. Tamina wasn't even getting involved in the match. At this point, it was a one-on-one match. It was kind of as if Sasha and Tamina weren't even there. So the fact that she was even focused on Sasha Banks played a huge role, and that's what cost her this match.
Hey, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and Bayley was able to capitalize.
Exactly. Alright, moving on to the main event. Well, that was pretty much the main event. But Ric Flair's 70th birthday celebration. I feel like everybody was looking forward to this, especially because this is the moment when we all thought Becky Lynch was going to come out and just attack Ric Flair.
Keep in mind, she was arrested earlier in the show because she had violated, obviously, what Triple H and Stephanie has said, that if she were to even though she was suspended, if she made an appearance on Raw or SmackDown, she was going to get arrested.
Yep, and that means violating her 60-day suspension. So she arrived to the arena and got arrested. So no sign of Becky Lynch, but you always know how these things work. Somebody gets arrested, they post bail, they escape on their way over there. Something ends up happening, but they don't get arrested, right? It's all part of the show. But the entire roster is pretty much seen walking up to the ramp. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon come out and they show a video package of Ric Flair, and we got to see some legends come out. They were HBK,
Ricky the Dragon,
Kurt Angle, and Sting.
I'm surprised to see Sting.
I was surprised to see him too. I wasn't expecting him to come back. We haven't seen him since Mania 31, which was like 4 years ago. It's been quite some time.
He had a lot of history with Ric Flair and WCW.
Yes, he definitely did. And then they also announced that they made a custom heavyweight championship for Ric Flair, which is an honor pretty much because I guess you can consider it, he has his own belt now. And then they were like, alright, let's just bring him out. This is all why we're here. Bring out Ric Flair, and Ric's music plays No Rick. And you can see Triple H, HBK, and Stephanie all like, where's Rick? And they're kind of getting a little concerned, a little worried because he's not coming out, and he was just backstage not too long ago. So, Armando, do the honors, tell him.
Yeah, so we all thought it was Becky Lynch that had attacked them, and all of a sudden, we see Dave Bautista attack Ric Flair and tell Triple H. Are you ready for me now?
Yes. So, when I saw Batista, I was extremely shocked because he drags the cameraman over to Rick's locker room, and he pretty much drags Rick out of the room.
I'm sorry. He says, "Do I have your attention now, Triple H?"
I didn't catch that. Sorry. Yes, that's exactly what he said. He pretty much drags Rick out, and then that's when he says, "Do I have your attention now?" Obviously, you can already assume this is the feud going into WrestleMania. There's a month left, pretty much, until Mania, and this is going to be the feud. It's awesome. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a killer match. The feud is going to be incredible. But I would have loved to see Becky Lynch take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, this would have been a perfect moment, like you said, for Becky Lynch to attack Ric Flair, just so she could get back on Charlotte Flair and possibly get into a match some way or somehow, get her suspension lifted. But I also see why Dave Bautista attacked Ric Flair, because that was his way of getting to Triple H.
Yeah, but I mean, also, there's a creative team, and there's a creative team for a reason, you know? And I just feel like this was the biggest opportunity, because then Charlotte was obviously going to be mad on SmackDown, and even then, Charlotte could have been written off SmackDown because she was taking care of her dad, right? And you could have even had Becky Lynch show up there. But it's like, it was perfect. They didn't go that route. That's fine. We're going to get Batista versus Triple H. I would have done it differently, personally. But that's the match we're getting.
Yeah, I feel that it wasn't the reaction they expected, because everybody was like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, because I feel like everybody was expecting Becky Lynch to come out, and when they saw Batista, they were like, Batista? What is Batista doing out here? And then it clicked, and everybody was like, okay, this is the match we're getting.
It took a while for it to sink in. I mean, it's awesome, but it just took a while for it
to sink in. Yeah, and you get to see Triple H run to the back, you know, oh my god, he's going to the aid of Flair. He finds him, and he's just like, get me a doctor. He's obviously super concerned. But this match is going to be killer at WrestleMania.
It is, and I was getting to that point to see, like, who is Triple H going to face at WrestleMania? Well, now we know who most likely he's going to face.
Exactly. Alright, that's all we have for you guys on this episode of Wrestling with Siblings. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Become a sibling today.
Yes, and for those of you that don't know what WWS stand for, Wrestling with Siblings. Thank you guys so much.
Join us tomorrow on a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings on the SmackDown edition.